Good afternoon and a very warm welcome to all the participants who joined us today for this very, very momentous day for Nasscom and the whole Nasscom product initiative. I've been personally associated with the Nasscom product connect, the programs, the conclave for the last decade and a half. And I think it's just phenomenal how India is truly emerging as a product nation, growth of Indian tech startups, SaaS companies. There's been I think there's increasing recognition that India can do it in products. And now that is evident from the investor interest, the different participants of the ecosystem, all that are coming together to make this a reality. Nasscom started the Deep Tech Club in 2017, and since then, it's been a growth journey for us. There's been tons of learning, which you're going to hear from our esteemed volunteers who are going to share what worked, what didn't work, and how we want to scale this forward. But for me personally, this is almost similar to when Nasscom launched the 10,000 Startup Initiative. We did this in 2013 when we recognized that the biggest problem we'd identified was the fact that there is not enough awareness about entrepreneurship and startup in the country. There were startups emerging at that time, but there was just not enough happening at that time. We feel this is a similar time for deep tech. There is greater recognition that deep tech and the opportunity it offers has the potential to immensely scale. And I think if we can multi-scale the program with two themes, one is greater partnerships and collaboration, and the second is impact and outcome. I think we've got a great story coming up. So what I wanted to do today was one, of course, welcome all of you, to thank the community participants that we have here with us today who have worked almost tirelessly, endlessly with Nasscom as a partner in each of these programs. Especially like to call out Milind from Intel, who's been the champion and has led this program, Anupam Saranwala, who's been our co-chair, Atul Batra, who's the chair of the Nasscom Product Council, and a host of other volunteers who ideated with us, who thought through the different initiatives and supported this in not only just giving us what to do, but walking every step of the way. They have far greater ownership of this initiative than many of us would have at Nasscom. I also wanted to share a brief presentation with you on how Nasscom is looking at the whole deep tech landscape. And post the presentation in the open house session, I'd be very happy to answer any questions, get feedback from you on what else is needed to drive advocacy on deep tech startups in the country. So give me a moment as I share my screen. So this presentation, as we put together, is really focused on saying, is deep tech, the startups, the next big opportunity for the country? Very briefly to define deep tech, so that there are multiple definitions going on. It is a very evolving segment. It will continue to change, but I wanted to put a little color on how we are looking at it. So clearly, deep tech innovations are defined as disruptive solutions that are built around unique, protected, or hard to reproduce technological or scientific advances. Now, this is a definition that we've read across multiple platforms, and we are seeing this as a very common definition. Of course, what goes under it and how it is interpreted is different at different platforms. For Nasscom, the deep tech startup definition has two elements to it. One is the tech startup definition that Nasscom uses. That means it's a tech startup that has been incepted in the last 5 years. And these startups are then using these advanced technologies, creating solutions using these advanced technologies in their products, are the ones we are classifying as deep tech startups. And the advanced technologies consist of AI, big data, IoT, blockchain, AR, VR, 3D printing, robotics, many others that will keep emerging. So this list is not exhaustive, but this is to give you a reflection of these are the deep tech technologies on which startups are building innovative solutions or new to or innovative products and services. I think all of you would know this, but I just wanted to quickly say, why is deep tech so important? I think the fact that we are living in a world of exponential technology shifts is very, very visible to all of us today. I think our lives, these technologies have permeated our lives even without us realizing it. And I think across government, enterprises, academia, citizens, there is increasing awareness about countries or enterprises that will need to be most smartest about how they will use these technologies. So clearly for industry, it is about how do I retain or build my innovative edge by using these technologies? And these are both for business growth as well as for key initiatives like sustainability. For government, the imperatives of inclusion, access, financial innovation, reaching out to large masses, I think innovative use of deep technologies help them achieve all of these objectives. Academia, obviously, they are one of the pioneers in creating these deep technologies, and they have a key role to play in driving the whole deep tech ecosystem. Just some numbers, I think Nasscom did this work last year, and just use of AI and data can create economic value of almost $500 billion over the next 5 years. So clearly, the opportunity out there is immense, and startups are building not only for India, they're building for the world. If you just, these are just some numbers to say that this is, to back why we think the future is for deep tech. Our last report, which we published in January 2021, talked about India having tech startups at about 11,000 to 12,500. That's almost double over the period of 2017 to 2020. But if we look at deep tech startups, they've actually increased from 600 to 2,100. So it's a 4.5x growth that we've seen in deep tech. And just 500 new were added in the last year. So, and that's almost 30% of the new tech startups that were added in a single year, and that also the year of the pandemic. So clearly, there is growth in deep tech startups that is happening at a very, very rapid pace. Percentage of startups that are leveraging deep tech in 2017, it was at 9%. The 2020 report shows this has increased to 19%. So almost 1 in 5 tech startups are today looking at using deep tech. Many of them are building deep tech solutions, but the penetration of deep tech is today becoming very, very strong. The third is really the investment. So validation of the tech startup ecosystem, whether we like it or not, has a lot of validation with is the funding ecosystem correlating with that story. And that again shows that investments have grown from less than 6% in 2017 to over 14% in 2020. So again, good validation of the numbers, and opportunity is very, very high. Very, very broad, diverse and player landscape. This is a very illustrative slide. This is by no means comprehensive. But as you can see, there are innovative startups, deep tech startups that are playing in each of these technology areas, whether it's AI and big data, whether it's IoT, whether it's blockchain, AR, VR. And, the Nasscom Deep Tech Club has very interesting stories on many of these companies, and would just urge all of you to look at our website, to look at the stories of these startups and what they have built out over these years. Just some key trends on how and why, deep tech is getting deep rooted. One is the fact that I spoke about on how the startups are scaling now. So it's not just about building deep tech startups. You're seeing more startups scaling up. How are they spread across verticals? Which are the areas they're building out? It's a good spread, but enterprise is the largest of them. AI and IoT is dominating the deep tech ecosystem because they are the more mature technologies as of now. Growing investor interest, and that is continuing to grow. And there is strong incubation and R&D support. There can be lots more that can be done. But I think there is good things that are happening, particularly in the whole academic ecosystem. So if we just see about, like I mentioned, AI and IoT are the two mature technologies on which more deep tech startups are emerging. And they are accounting for almost 2/3 of the overall deep tech startups in the country. There is increasing growth in the newer areas of AR, VR, blockchain as we look at it. But the scaling up is currently being witnessed more in the segments of AI, IoT, and big data. The mature verticals where we are seeing the most growth, enterprise is highest at almost 29 or 30% of the total startups are building for the enterprise. Fintech, again, is another high growth area. And given how India is a leading player in fintech, that's no surprise. I think driven by the pandemic, where these emerging deep tech startups have played a key role, health tech is interestingly the third highest segment as we are seeing. There's also interesting work that's happening in the whole industrial and manufacturing segment, which traditionally, particularly from an India context, was very slow to adopt deep tech. And I think that is again starting to see much higher adoption. And EdTech, again, driven by the pandemic, there is more focus now on personalized learning, virtual assessments. So very, very innovative use cases that are getting built out. This is just a slide to show you how the investor interest in deep tech startups is on the rise. So funding, we just compare 2019 to 2020, there's a 3% increase. And like my earlier slide showed, this has improved from less than 6% in 2017. So funding is improving year on year for deep tech startups. The slide on the right, the graph on the right would show you that a lot of this investment is currently in the seed stage because these are still early stage companies. So almost 85% of the investment that is going into these companies is in the seed stage. Though there are some examples of Series A and Series B companies also. I think over the next 5 years, this chart will dramatically change. And Nasscom and the Nasscom Deep Tech Club, along with all its partners, is looking to play a key role in making this journey happen. I think all key investment funds in the country globally are looking at this as an opportunity, and this is a listing of different funds and how their investments are in deep tech startup space. This is almost my second last slide, but it's just saying, there is incubation and strategic R&D support being provided by stakeholders. So whether it's IIT Hyderabad, IIT Mumbai, IIT Delhi, incubation cells created across different arms of these academic institutions. There is a lot of focus now, or at least interest now for academia to partner with startups to create original deep tech technologies themselves that they can take to market. And that will be a pivotal shift for India to grow in the whole deep tech ecosystem. And there is, of course, the Nasscom Deep Tech Club, which you will hear more about on, how do we want to scale this program. Just when we ask many of the startups on, what are their, what are some of the areas where they need support, I think 3 or 4 things stood out. One is funding support from the government, because clearly many of these deep technologies have a longer gestation period. They require patient capital. And if India were to adopt models like Israel did with the YOSMA scheme and others, where they take a longer lag cycle, that would be very, very helpful. So Nasscom is putting together a paper on, asking for government support on deep tech startups. I think the second most important is really the mentorship and go-to-market strategy. So great products get built, but very often, what are the go-to-market strategies? What is the product market fit? How can they connect to the early customers? I think that's where Nasscom and all its partners can play a key role. I think skilling is a key priority across large, medium, small startup companies, and skilling in deep technologies is equally important. Again, Nasscom is running the whole Future Skills Prime initiative, and we would urge many more companies on this call to see how you can leverage this program. There is a lot of content that is getting created, so you can both create content, curate content, as well as contribute content. So would urge many of you to participate. And I think the last is really about partnerships, because we need to create a brand for deep tech startups in India. So India is known for fintech startups. India is known for e-commerce startups. India is known for SaaS startups. But I think we need to work together with all the partners to create a brand for deep tech startups in the country. So to summarize, really, deep tech is at the cusp of a new era in technology R&D, and its impact on the economy and social impact can be megafold. So it is, startups have had a phenomenal impact on value creation. Deep tech startups can potentially have a 2x impact. I've already talked about the investor interest, the AI and IoT impact that we are seeing. But clearly, I think all of these different pillars have to come together as we build, the whole deep tech ecosystem at its next level in the country. And hopefully, just like, we feel confident that the Nasscom 10,000 Startup Program in its 7 years journey has played a key role in growing the Indian tech startup ecosystem. The Nasscom Deep Tech Club can play a key role in growing the whole deep tech ecosystem for the country and make a contribution across unicorns, startups, innovation, patents, R&D, jobs, as well as social impact. Thank you so much, and I hand this back to Sujit.